He would pray this in his ruku and sujood. Subbuhun Quddusun Rabbul Malaikati Warruh. Subbuh and Quddus means the pure. The pure. Subbuhun Quddusun Rabbul, the Lord of the Malaika, the angels, and Jibreel alayhi salam. Even after the Salatul Witr, he would make this dua 3 times. He would say, Subhanal Malikil Quddus. He would say, كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول 3 سبحان الملك القدوس فيرفع صوته في الثالث. And the 3rd time he would say it in a more louder voice. So we can make this dua, Subhan al-Malik al-Quddus. And in our ruku and sujood, Subbuhun Quddusun Rabbul Malaikati Warruh. Now what does it mean? The scholars say that Taqdees means, or Al-Quddus means, Al-Munazzah min kulli ayb. He is pure, free, and completely away from any flaw, any ayb. Sometimes as human beings, we all have flaws. Even in the Sharia, for example, if a person is known to be a liar or to not be trustworthy, then this is a flaw and they're not, their testimony is not as strong. So this is an ayb. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is free from any flaws. And how do you and I, how do we show that? Through tawheed, through the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That when we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? We're worshipping one Allah. Most of us, we're not going to associate partners, okay? We're not going to have idols. But we may be doing shirk khafi, the lower level of shirk where we're doing actions not only to please Allah, but possibly to please fellow man, fellow human. So when we're obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and when we're submitting ourselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our actions should truly be for His sake. Now sometimes we hear that and we think, okay, whatever I do for Allah's cause, I could be giving money, I could be doing things for the masjid, I could, I'm doing good, and I say it. But sometimes even in that there can be a flaw, right? Even in our good actions, where we say that we have sincerity, but even that could have a flaw in it. What do I mean by this? Say a person, I'm doing something for you, for the poor, right? Or for someone else, and I remind you of a favor. Sometimes my ego could be driving me. It could be a good action, right? I could be doing something for the masjid. I could be doing something for the poor. But that could be driven by my ego. So even in that good action, there's also a flaw. Even in that good action, there is a problem. And so, whatever we do, it needs to be pure. There's no ego behind it. There's no influence, external influence. We are doing it for the sake and for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in that avenue, it's not driven by anything else. Right? Because sometimes we say, I'm doing it for the sake of Allah. But, in Urdu, they say, there's a, statement, they said, Tawadu ma bi takabbur hota hai. That even in tawadu, even in you saying that I'm doing it for Allah, that could be ostentation right there. That I'm doing it for the sake of Allah, but really you're saying that. Does that make sense? So all our actions need to be purely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, tawheed. And the second meaning, second layer to this is, as human beings, our decisions or our thought of Allah sometimes can be based on the qualities of human beings. So we know that Allah is the Adil, the Just, the Rahim, the Merciful. And so when we think of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is beyond the justice of human beings, beyond the mercy of human beings. When we're talking about His plan and His irada, it's beyond the qualities of human beings. He's beyond that. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pure from these human qualities When we're talking about him being just on the day of judgment, he will be just. It's beyond the qadi and the judge that we think of in this world. His qualities are beyond that. So we call this, he is the Al-Quddus, he is free from any flaw, any deficiency. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to purify our actions for him and allow us to worship him in the way that he ought to be worshipped. Subhanallah wa bihamdi. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wa salamun ala al-mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.